Welcome back to the channel. My name's Eddie, and today we need to talk about something that a lot of Tesla owners need to hear. Because if you own a Tesla with hardware 3 and you're expecting to get unsupervised FSD or use the robotaxi network whenever it becomes available, I've got some news for you. Tesla's Q1 2026 earnings call just dropped some really important details about this, and I want to break it down for you clearly so you know exactly where you stand. So let's get into it. So starting off, I want to get into hardware 3. Elon confirmed on the earnings call that hardware 3 simply just can't achieve unsupervised full self-driving. And this isn't really a software problem, it's just a hard physical limitation. Here's exactly what he said. Hardware 3 has only 1/8 of memory bandwidth of hardware 4. And memory bandwidth is one of the key things needed for unsupervised FSD. If you're running an aggressive AI transformer model, which is exactly what unsupervised FSD requires, memory bandwidth is a choke point. You can't get around it with software. The hardware just isn't built for it. Now, I know some of you watching this have hardware 3 cars and paid for FSD, whether that was a full purchase or the monthly subscription, and I get that's frustrating to hear because you paid for something expecting it to get better over time, and now you're being told that your car literally cannot get to where the technology is heading. So what is Tesla actually going to do about this? So here's where it gets interesting, because Tesla isn't just going to leave the hardware 3 owners out in the cold completely. Elon talked about two things. First, discounted trade-ins. If you have a hardware 3 car and want to get into a hardware 4 car, Tesla is going to offer a discounted trade-in specifically for those customers. So that's one of the paths. But the second thing is what really caught my attention. Elon said Tesla is planning to set up what he called micro factories. Basically small dedicated factories in major metropolitan areas specifically to do hardware upgrades on existing cars. And here's why that's necessary. It's not as simple as just swapping out one chip. Elon said you need to replace the computer and the cameras to go from hardware 3 to hardware 4. That's a significant job, and if you try and go through normal service centers, it just becomes extremely slow and inefficient in scale. There's just a lot of hardware 3 cars out there, so regular service centers just aren't set up to handle that amount of volume. So the idea with these micro factories is essentially setting up dedicated production line style operations in major cities that do the upgrades efficiently and at scale. Think of it almost like a little mini assembly line just for hardware upgrades. Elon also said that over time, it's going to make more sense to convert all the hardware 3 cars to hardware 4, because hardware 4 is what allows those cars to eventually enter the robotaxi fleet and have unsupervised FSD. So there's a real business incentive for Tesla to make this happen too. The more cars they can get into hardware 4, the bigger the potential robotaxi fleet becomes. Now look, I don't want this to sound like hardware 3 is completely done, because it's not. Elon confirmed that Tesla is releasing a version 14 specifically for hardware 3. It's going to be a distilled version of the same V14 software that hardware 4 is running. And he said hardware 3 owners should be able to start their drives from the park state and have basically all the features that V14 has on hardware 4. That's expected to come around at the end of June. So hardware 3 is still meaningfully getting improvements. V14 is still a significant upgrade, but the ceiling is there. Unsupervised FSD where the cars drive itself with no human monitoring required, that's not going to be able to come to hardware 3. That's just like the bottom line of that. Supervised FSD where you still need to pay attention and just be ready to take over whenever, hardware 3 can still do that, and it's still going to keep getting better. But the fully hands-off, no supervision needed experience that Tesla is building towards, that's going to just require hardware 4. Let me also quickly break down the software roadmap, because this is important context for all of this. Version 14.3, which is what's running in the robotaxi cities right now, was described as a major update. Elon said it's essentially the last piece of the puzzle needed for unsupervised FSD to work. So the current robotaxi developments in Austin, Dallas, and Houston, which are completely unsupervised, I know they have some in Cali, but there's people needed for that. So the current robotaxi developments in those areas are running 14.3 or variants of that, and it's clearly working enough to be safe. But here's the thing, even though 14.3 unlocks unsupervised FSD, Tesla knows there are major improvements already in the pipeline that would make it even safer. And Elon said it wouldn't be right to go very large scale unsupervised FSD when they know those improvements are coming. So they're being very deliberate about the pace of expansion. Then there's version 15 expected by the end of this year. You didn't have to cut me off. Or early next year. Elon described it as a complete overhaul of the software, and it'll run on AI-4 hardware. He said at that point they're really just pushing the safety lever further above human safety levels. Version 15 is going to be a major upgrade on top of the 14.3 version that already delivers. So the roadmap basically looks like this. 14.3 gets robotaxi expanding to other cities and states throughout this year. Unsupervised FSD starts reaching customer cars around Q4, and then version 15 comes in and takes everything into another level. So the bottom line is, if you have hardware 3, you're still getting meaningful FSD improvements with version 14 coming at the end of June, but unsupervised FSD is not happening on that hardware. The memory bandwidth isn't there, and it has a physical limit. Your options are basically the discount trade-in Tesla's going to offer you, or waiting for the micro factories to come to your area, or at least somewhere close enough to where you can drive there and get that upgraded. If you have hardware 4 though, things are looking a little bit brighter. Unsupervised FSD targeting Q4 of this year, robotaxis expanding significantly, and version 15 coming as a massive software upgrade on top of all that. And honestly, with my personal experience with FSD, already having FSD supervised is life-changing, so I cannot wait to see what unsupervised FSD will look like. I might actually bed down in my car. We'll see how that goes. But if you guys enjoyed this video, please give this video a thumbs up, subscribe, comment down below any concerns, comments, or anything you want to say. But if you stuck it out this far, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.